Hey everyone, I wanted to talk a little bit about resources for survivors of intimate partner violence. Um, Specifically, this is an issue that often escalates when there are children involved. And what I can say, based upon what exposure I've had to this system, is that when it comes to services, if you are in an area that is predominantly liberal in its leanings, as opposed to conservative, what you can anticipate happening as a survivor of intimate partner violence, whether that's directed at you or whether it's directed at your children or both, you can expect that the more liberal the area you live in, the less meaningful assistance you're going to be able to access. The reason for this is that the liberal agenda is not one that sees life as sacred. I think that's very evident by the policies that they try to enforce. Anytime you are in a lower income area, you can anticipate that your needs are not going to be taken as seriously as if you are in a wealthier area. That's another thing to consider. The less access you have as a survivor to financial resources, the less likely you are to see any kind of justice done, because of the fact that people, despite their rhetoric, typically do not want to assist anyone in a complex situation that involves violence in any form unless they are going to benefit financially in that process. So I just wanted to mention that because I think that people often think that there may be an easier avenue out than just a lot of effort on their part. And that's just not the case, because if you look at the policies promoted by liberal leaning people, those policies include slaughtering, murdering the most vulnerable of children, which would be those in the womb. And if you happen to survive that ordeal, and if you happen to make it out alive from the womb of your mother, then you get to look forward to the liberal agenda pushing gender ideology on you in an effort to discourage your use of your own biological reproductive abilities. So if they can't get rid of you prior to you being born, their next course of action is to get you to stop yourself from procreating. And it seems to me that they prefer to do this at a younger age versus an older age, because the more innocent you are, the more willing to believe the narrative given to you by adults that you're supposed to be able to trust, the easier you are to manipulate into a belief structure that can and likely will cause you permanent reproductive interference. Another thing that you'll often see is them pushing unnecessary, unneeded surgical procedures, because their goals are often very superficial. It's one thing to get needed medical surgery due to an illness that cannot be treated some other way. It's a whole nother thing to go under the knife 20 times for cosmetic procedures. And I think you can understand what I'm getting at with this point. I think that the further away we get from a moral basis for our decision making and a spiritual basis for our decision making, the more likely we are to fall prey to ideologies that are rooted in demonic and satanic belief systems. I think many people believe that there is evil in the world. I think that we can turn on the TV and see that that is very clearly the case. But just as there is evil in the world, there is also good. An ability to differentiate the evil from the good can be challenging, especially if you're in an environment that gives you very restricted, limited access to data and makes it likely that cognitively you will construct a certain narrative. You'll think it's your own, but it will have been influenced by the limitations of what you're able to access on the internet. It will be a form of indoctrination unless you have a very strong sense of self and are willing to think critically about issues despite whether or not you are the minority opinion. And more people need to have the courage to stand firm in their beliefs, even if those beliefs are the minority beliefs, because you don't know what you speaking out will be able to accomplish. You don't know how many other people feel the same way as you, but are too fearful to speak out. And maybe you saying your truth about a situation will empower someone else to do the same. And that ripple effect will help to save lives. I hope that this message has been helpful in some way. God bless.